Black Myth Wukong is Steam's second most played game in its history by concurrent players. Based on what I see on Steam charts, it's standing on 2.4 million players. This is just insane. The thing is that this game does so many things. Of course, there was a big hype for the game, but it didn't disappoint. Actually, I was surprised how actually good it is, way more than I actually anticipated it to be. I also think it's the best showcase for Unreal Engine 5, and not just that, it's actually so well optimized. You just won't believe all the details in the game. This is the most beautiful game by far that I've ever played. The amount of details in this game will blow your mind away. Again, this is all thanks to Unreal Engine 5. This game is just stunning, full of reach of detail beyond belief. Seriously, you have to see this in your own eyes. It's just mind-blowing beautiful. And the cool thing is that even on low settings, it looks really nice, let alone, of course, if you ramp up to cinematic. Not just that, different places look very much different from each other. Really amazing character design, and also lots of varieties of character design we want so much to see in games, so each era will feel different and unique. But it does lack in terms of exploration. Although you have exploration in this game, don't expect Elden Ring like exploration. This is not an open world game. It's actually built like corridors. Basically, think about something similar to Bloodborne, although the game does open up later on with more open areas. But again, they didn't want to put you in alleyways, or they really wanted, of course, the open world settings, but limit where you can go to. And the way they did it, yeah, it's confusing at first because we are used to open world games seeing such a vast environment, you want to explore it, but you can't. There are lots of invisible walls. But once you pass through this, you discover how amazing this game is, and many players love that. You know, in many open world games you can get lost. Although there is not a map here, I actually think it's a good idea because things are more linear in terms of where you can actually go. So giving you a bit of freedom to explore and not really pinpoint everything on the map, I think it was actually a good idea to give you a more sense of mystery and exploration. The bosses themselves, this is like Souls quality boss fights, and there are plenty of them. Somebody mentioned in one of the reviews like 80 bosses, there are plenty of them. And again, everything is just so much fun in terms of combat. Now, some people mention it kind of similar to Sekiro, but again, instead of deflecting attacks, you actually dodge attacks. And it does feel very satisfying, like a dance, like it's beautiful. It feels so satisfying when you fight combat, especially once you learn to dodge their moves. And again, there are so many bosses, but it feels so unique and interesting. You really want to find out a new boss in a secret area, because you know the boss is going to be amazing and different from the other ones that you've seen. It is a boss rush game. This means that most of the action will be fighting bosses, but that's what we love to do. It's just gonna cut out all the, let's say, the bullshit aside and put you in the action and enjoy the things that you love the most, playing similar games like that. Now, it is a difficult game. Even if you look at it from a Souls game perspective, it is difficult. But there are things, if you listen, let it be like that. If you don't like difficult games, there are ways you can read online guides and find ways to even one-shot bosses. There are ways. Even in Elden Ring, once you read guides and find about vulnerability for bosses and some different builds, you're gonna wipe enemies. But if you want to just go along and have a pure experience, some of you are gonna find it pretty difficult and very challenging. But for me, this is part of the fun. I really enjoyed it. But again, everybody have their own priorities. Some actually don't like that. They want to have fun, relaxing fun playing the game, and they don't want to play again. This is very challenging. That's why I'm saying that if you want to do that, there are guides online. You can actually find ways to make things much, much easier for yourself. Now, I can tell you that some of the secret areas in this game are so much fun that although they're optional, you must experience them because it's so beautiful, and the boss fights, everything there, not just that, they feel very rewarding as well. This game is just full of secrets. When I finished the game, I just went back to discover so many things, and then I realized that I didn't even know how to unlock the blacksmith. I just discovered after that. It's just crazy. Of course, now I'm doing it after finishing the game and continuing. But again, for me, the difficulty is part of the fun of the game. It felt so satisfying once I was able to really dance with the boss for several minutes and not die, and being able to finish the boss. If it was one shot, I wouldn't enjoy it that much, I have to admit. But after that, I don't mind. After I finish the campaign, the first playthrough, I can do everything I like. So the game ticks all the right boxes in so many things: character design, environment. I mean, the environment. I'm still telling you, this is just the most beautiful game ever made. Seriously. Also, the moves are better telegraphed. You can actually understand the movement better compared to many other Souls games. And I think this is the reason why, if you are not really paying attention to attacks and learn moves, you'll be able to intuitively react to that after many tries. Whether in Souls games, for example, if you can try maybe 100 times, if you really don't pay attention, you'll fail again and again. So it's much easier in this aspect in this game. It's also more forgiving compared to Souls games. You don't lose anything here if you fail, you just start again. Also, checkpoints are very close to bosses. You don't need to run, spend time wasting your time. You just enjoy repeating the fights. Even if you fail, it's not really punishing. You don't need to run like 5 minutes until the boss, a few minutes. Straight away you can jump into the boss and try again. Now, although the amount of movements are actually limited, I actually think that it goes in favor of this game, because it can appeal to a wide audience, those who don't really want to remember so many moves and combos. And another thing is that you can actually create builds that are not too sophisticated, so it allows you to respec again and try something else. It's not really take a long time to do. Speaking of which, it doesn't cost you anything to respec. Thank you for that. You can actually change and find a build that works, and it takes really a few seconds, maybe just 1 minute, to respec everything and try something else. The music in this game is beautiful. The story, I think if you're more into understanding the core story, you'll be able to enjoy it more. But even that, although I wasn't really immersed in the story, I still enjoy the characters, the way they actually present the story in a way of the characters, voice line, music, cinematic. It just looks beautiful. And there are so many secrets in this game that I'm just discovering right now after reading about it. After that, after playing the first playthrough without reading nothing, now I'm actually discovering so many things. And there's so many things this game has to offer way after I finish the game. I mean, think about it. It's not an open world game, but still you can miss so many things. The way they design the secret areas, part of them in quests, they design so well, and it's not easy to find. But once you find them, you realize, wow, this is actually a genius way they actually did that. Something very simple. The world is not too big, but still you can miss so many things. Now, don't get me wrong, there are lots of things to discover, there are lots of items to play with and kind of form your own playstyle. There are 3 stances. Again, the skill tree, let's call it like that, is not too extensive, but I think the simplicity of that makes combat much more accessible to a much wider audience. So although some players might see things as a negative thing, I don't think that it is. I actually think that it's a very, very smart design choices that they made here to make the game accessible, fun for both, by the way, those who love challenging games and even Souls veterans, to challenge them as well. And also appeal to the casual player who, if they just read a bit more about certain things or discover this, they will find out that the game can be much, much easier and more accessible to them as well. And by the way, there's also English and Chinese voice line. I recommend going with the Chinese because it's just, it feels more authentic like that. So when you play the game, change from English to Chinese so you can, get the feeling of it. And you might like Chinese much, much better in terms of the way the character talk, the way it fits a certain persona of the characters. So definitely recommend doing that. So there is a reason why people love this game, why the game is so popular. There was a hype, but people really rated very high. It's overwhelmingly positive on Steam for a good reason. And I do think they're actually combining something that feels like an open world, but again, it's more limited in terms of the pathing you can actually go with. Felt a bit odd at first, but I'm telling you, once you get used to it, you actually appreciate what they've done here in terms of game design. They directed it in a way that you can appreciate different views. They make the game very photogenic because again, they decided the path so they can design the world so it looks really beautiful in certain angles and places you go. and you actually feel it. You go into certain places, get really beautiful vistas, and the game is amazing. You can't go everywhere, of course, but it's still beautiful to behold. Now you're gonna find out that the game is also very rewarding. Actually, I felt that it's quite similar to Elden Ring, although here you're gonna get plenty of things, and of course they couldn't make it very, very powerful, although some of the items actually are. Still, it feels that once you get something, you can experiment with different builds, which is nice. So basically they take different stats and different abilities and spread them to different pieces, and some of them even require to get one piece and another piece in order to work together to create a more powerful one. The quests in this game are also quite cryptic, but not complicated and not long. They're not really exhausting you. The game gives you a place to try to explore and find things, but also leave things for others to maybe not find in the first playthrough. And more even than that, if it's played by many players, maybe something that is very hard to find, maybe players will find it only many hours later, even considering a large community actually playing this game. This is the types of games that masterpiece games are made of. And of course, I won't see any reason why this game won't actually win the Game of the Year in 2024. It really deserved that. And this is a game that if it was like an open world game, probably would clock like 200 or more hours. But some people really want a more compact experience, packed with action and fun, while still providing players with mystery and things to discover. And if you consider the limitation of the world in terms of where you can go, I think they did it amazingly well. I mean, really, I was actually surprised how actually good it is. So this game has huge appeal for those who love action RPG games, those who love Souls-like games, those who love adventure games, those who love games with really incredible bosses, those who even love open world games, but again, still enjoy this one even though it's pretty limited in terms of where you need to go. It does open up later on, but still, in terms of vistas and the way you perceive the world in terms of its size, it's still there. The sense of adventure is there. I mean, I remember the first time I played Elden Ring and I got out of this starting area, I was like, wow, what a world is waiting for me. Now, it's not going to be the same because it's not an open world, and in that aspect I do prefer open world games. But even then, if you consider all that, the way they designed the game to really respect players' time while giving them a really great sense of adventure, overall they did an excellent job. Now again, the game is not super long. You probably can complete it in around 40 to 60 hours, depends, even more if you're going to, of course, more if you're going to go and do all the different things available in the game. Although again, it also depends on skill. Some players will find themselves playing many hours certain bosses, something that is not mentioned in reviews. People say, alright, 40 hours you can finish the game, or 30 hours. But some players will struggle in this game for sure, and it can take them even 3 times more. So this type of timing is not something you can really, it all depends on the skill of the player, or the skill of the player finding things that are broken to make things much easier. It can be even shorter. So Black Myth Wukong is greater in my opinion than the sum of its parts. And this is because the way they combine the different things, although several of them can have shortcomings by themselves, when you look at it as a whole, it works incredibly well. And being able to squeeze all of that in the type of design and still making a game like that feel great in terms of exploration, mystery, discovery, combat, all of that together and more makes the game, for me, a masterpiece. Because you can for example, complain about the attacks. There are not a lot of variety. You can complain if there are some, invisible walls. And I mean, and if you try to pitch it in a certain way, you won't actually design a game that will eventually lead to the game to be that good as it is now. I'm not saying it will work for every game, and sometimes even complexity is better than simplicity, but in some games simplicity might be better in terms of complexity. But in order to create a mass appeal for this game and really make the game really fun for a large variety of players who love different genres, they absolutely nailed it. And I think players who play the game understand that. And although I can't really share everything here in a single video, all I can say is that the whole experience itself felt something fresh and exciting. This is a game I'll remember for a long time. Thanks for watching.